Together, we are stronger. God bless Mama Liberia, and God bless you.
Let us remember, to have peace, we have to realize that we are one people.
Good evening from Pinsville and welcome to LNTV News Live. 30 minutes of news from Liberia and other parts of the world. Today is Friday, February 26, 2021, and I'm your anchor, Chap Davis. Stories coming up on this edition of the program. The Ministry of Health to shortly begin rolling out vaccines that's including the AstraZeneca vaccine for COVID-19. Swedish ambassador to Liberia describes coordination in the land sector as essential tool for avoiding function duplication. A high-level meeting to address the constant breakdown of Liberia water and sewer corporation pipelines to take place in Monrovia soon. And on the international scene, unidentified gunmen kidnapped more than 300 schoolgirls in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state. Keep watching. We'll be right back because more story ahead. Welcome back to the program. Grand Creek County is expected to host the July 26 Independence Day celebrations this year. Speaking Friday in Barclayville, Grand Creek County, President George Weah said the national program will be held in the county this year as a way of decentralizing Independence Day celebrations.
I'll be coming back here. No, the little lamb my grandma left. The Punasa. I made my horse, so I'll be coming here. Namdaji. So I'll go back, I'll be coming. And I'll be planning what not that the chair or someone to it, or to our Liberians that are listening. Independent Day this year, why not bring it here? I'm asking, why not? If this record is part of the history of this country, then why we can't host one Independent Day here? But you see, maybe they have criteria. When we pass the criteria, they'll let us know. Because they get to do a hosting people. They get to do a hosting people. When you can host, then it's easy to bring the kind of event here. This is a great county. Let us not destroy it. We listen to our big brother here. To gain prominence was so difficult. Today, we are part of history. Let us maintain the history. Let us be the leading county. County of peace, dialogue, country that understands that government processes is not an event, it's a process. People understand that the government is working for them. This is very cool. Dina. Anybody? Dina.
President George, we are speaking Friday in Barclayfield, Grand Creek County, where he announced that this year's Independence Day celebration is going to take place in the county. Health Minister Dr. Wilhelmina Jala says government has made funding available to help health authorities as the country remains in the preparedness stage for Ebola. Addressing journalists at a special edition of the Ministry of Information press briefing on Friday, Dr. Jala said the health authorities have adjusted the country's Ebola plan of 2015 to reflect the present situation. The health minister disclosed that all of the alleged Ebola cases in Liberia have tested negative for the virus.
Now, plans. The plan was made in 2015. The first thing that you would do as a preparedness stage is to pull out all of the plans that were made and look at it and adjust it to the current situation. So all of that have already been done as soon as we got the announcement for the EBD in Guinea. The very next day we were at the table, we have done our homework, and now we're looking at the new plan, the new revised plan that we need. About funding, you know, all the funding will not be available at one time. The government, most people like to see that the government, what the government is doing before other people start coming in. The government have already provided the first funding for us to begin. Because of that, we are able to make sure that our border lines and our community engagement and part of the preparedness is going on. It's a systematic thing. But as we go on, we are discussing with partners, the Senate, and other people to put money into more preparedness. But at least we have initial funding to start the preparedness.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health is expected to shortly begin rolling out a series of vaccines, including the AstraZeneca vaccine for COVID-19. The ministry will commence a nationwide polio vaccination exercise this March to vaccinate more than 900,000 children between ages 0 to 49 years. It is also expected to begin a nationwide administration of Tafur vaccine for more than 1.9 million children between the ages of 9 months to 14 years. On Friday, the program manager for immunization at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Adolphus Clark, said 384,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine will arrive in Liberia next week to commence the vaccination exercise 2 weeks later.
So I listed several vaccines that will happen at different time intervals. If you got me right, I gave you different time intervals and different target audience. I tell you for the polio campaign, we are going to look at children 0 to 59 months or children less than 5 years. And that polio campaign starts March 12 to March 15. I told you about the type of conjugate vaccine that is scheduled for March 24 to the 28th. And then I talked about the arrival of the COVID-19 vaccine next week. And we are planning to ensure that once the vaccine arrives, we can commence vaccination with the healthcare workers. The Honorable Minister will communicate officially when the first healthcare worker is going to receive his or her COVID vaccine. I mean, that's something that we will work on at the technical level, and she will provide that official audit to the larger audience.
Dr. Clark has at the same time clarified that the type of vaccine that is expected in Liberia is capable of treating the variant of coronavirus currently in the country.
Vaccine development started on a R&D, or for research and development, we were looking at one variant at a time, and there was tremendous progress being made to ensure that said vaccine or vaccines are able to counteract that variant. In the process of what we call regulatory approval through delegation, what we refer to as the emergency use procedure, or that of the emergency use authorization, we learned about the second variant starting from the UK, and then we saw in Africa and South Africa. What we know to date in Liberia, the vaccine that will be around in the next Friday will be able to combat the current variant that we have in Liberia. We are all hoping and praying that we don't have a second variant, but what is most important, we are all, through the Office of the Honorable Minister, engaging global counterparts to see what vaccine now can go against the second variant. So if you even look at the US Pfizer vaccine, or Moderna, or Galilea, or the Sinovac, the Chinese or Russian, they are still evolving, and so once we get additional information relative to the vaccine that tackles both the first and the second variant, we'll do the honorable thing as a country to ensure that said vaccine is brought to Liberia to have our citizens fully protected. But at this point in time, what we know is that the variant we have here is the vaccine that we are bringing to protect us against that particular variant.
Dr. Adolphus Clark is the program manager for immunization at the Ministry of Health. Swedish ambassador to Liberia, Ingrid Watervis, says coordination in the land sector is an essential tool for avoiding duplication of function. Ambassador Watervis said strengthening such mechanism will enable the Liberia Land Authority achieve much in the land governance sector. She said despite the tight fiscal challenges, the Liberian government investment in the land authority through budgetary allocation is vital. Ambassador Watervis spoke Friday in Congo Town at the close of a two-day national learning and experience sharing conference on customary land formalization. A high-level meeting aimed at addressing the constant breakdown of the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation pipeline is expected to take place in Monrovia next week. According to the chairman of the WASH Commission, Bobby Whitfield, the meeting will put in place both short and long-term solutions to the problem. Mr. Whitfield disclosed that government agencies and development partners are expected to be in attendance. The chairman of the WASH Commission also said the month of March will be observed as World Water Month. He indicated that there are several programs planned by the Commission, including the dedication of a water system in the Rock Hill community in Painesville. Well, if you just joined us, a reminder that you're watching LNTV News Live here on LNTV, 30 minutes of news from Liberia and other parts of the world on this Friday, February 26, 2021 edition of the program. I'm your anchor, Chap Davidson. Stories we are following: the Ministry of Health to shortly begin rolling out series of vaccines, including the AstraZeneca vaccine for COVID-19. Swedish ambassador to Liberia describes coordination in the land sector as essential tool for avoiding function duplication. A high-level meeting to address the constant breakdown of the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation pipelines to take place in Monrovia soon. And off the home front on identified gunmen kidnapped more than 300 schoolgirls in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state. More stories are still ahead of this edition of the program. Keep watching. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the program, and let's take more stories. One Planet Education, a pro-agriculture group, is calling on all Liberians to invest their time in agricultural activities to ensure food sufficiency. In an interview with this station Friday, the group executive director, Gwambe Emmanuel Zeyo, lauded the WIA-led government for championing agriculture in the country.
Do is we take agriculture back to the schools, but in a brand new way where we evolved smart technologies, where someone can say, oh, I have a smart farm. So some of the things we include comes with a soil tester, a rain gauge, you know, something that you can measure the depth of your soil with, as well as we provide monitors. Okay. For your field. So currently we're working with 7 schools in Liberia, and it has been very welcoming for us. Interestingly, most of the students that we engaged with or we started with, they are doing pretty well, and more students are actually gaining interest. I'm very grateful to the President, President George Weah, and the Minister of Agriculture, Madam Jenny Cooper, for their willingness to actually take us back to the soil. I'm from a farming background. My dad he's been into farming for quite some time now. But I grew up with the mindset that I should be able to eat anything I want to eat at any time, which means the only way that will be possible if I can grow what I eat. So if I want to eat potato greens, I can grow potato greens so that it's always there. If I want to eat beans, I can grow beans so it's always there. And I'm also, as an individual, highly interested in animal farming. Okay. So if I want to eat goat, I must raise goat so that goat is readily available for me when I need it. So yeah, it's very essential, and a nation who will not prioritize agriculture will always be dependent on others to feed them.
Welcome back to LNTV News Live, and apology for that breaking transmission due to power failure. At the same time, Mr. Zeyo stressed the importance of agriculture in ending hunger and poverty.
Well, economically, what's going to happen if we prioritize agriculture? There are several things that's going to happen. One, our folks are going to be self-dependent, as I said. We wouldn't have to import food from overseas. More so, it could generate income for us economically, because what we produce we can sell. And that's one of the things we're doing with the schools. We're not just teaching them how to produce, but we're creating the entrepreneurial side of things where they're able to set up a stand where they can set their vegetables, their fruit that they grew from right on the school, and sell them. And they can use that money to pay school fees. They can use that money to buy provisions in the house. They can use that money to entertain themselves. So the entrepreneurial side of things. Don't just eat everything, but sell some, make the money, and invest in other things. We can do it ourselves. We don't have to depend on India, on China, on other countries to send us rice. I'm not against bilateral trade or multilateral trade, but I believe that if they're sending us rice, we should be able to send them beans.
Kwambe Emmanuel Zeyo is the Executive Director of One Planet Education, a pro-agriculture group operating in Liberia. Patriotic Entrepreneurs of Liberia Patel, a conglomeration of local businesses, wants the total involvement of the national legislature to help Liberians take hold of their economy. Patel Chairman Dominic Nimle said members of the legislature have the power to correct the wrongs in the economy, and the group will intensify its engagement with the body. Speaking to LNTV Friday, Mr. Nimlen called for seats at the legislature for Liberian business representation.
We Liberians have been being marginalized in our country, and most of these laws, rules, and regulations are being passed by the legislature. They have the oversight. Being you having the oversight, it's like somebody trusting you with their family. Somebody trusting you, a 25-year-old woman or man. Somebody trusting you with their family. You should build. You should work within that trust. We have the Google regulation on the book, but the implementation part of it is the problem. Who do we blame? The legislature. They're going to the legislature, and we're going to hold their feet to the fire until they can right the wrongs. It's about time they right the wrongs, and we need those 2 seats because we no longer trust them to make policy for us on liberalization or policy for us. We no longer trust them with our economy. Our economy has been slipped out of our hand for decades. It's a national security issue. What they do as a legislator, what they thinking to do about that? If the Indian or Lebanese man say you're not bringing rice here today, there will be no rice. You can remember during the Ebola outbreak. They stopped, they said they had rice in the warehouse and they said there was no rice. Professor Wilson Tabet had to start going from store to store, including the food out, to make them to put those rice outside to sell it. So it's a national security issue.
Dominic Nimle is the chairman of the Patriotic Entrepreneurs of Liberia, a conglomeration of local businesses. 100 students benefiting educational sponsorship from the Liberia Recitation Association are said to be struggling for school materials. The executive director of the association, King Jensen Zelu, is calling on government, NGOs, and other well-meaning Liberians to assist the students with school materials.
We are here to call on the government of Liberia, NGO, well-meaning Liberians, and philanthropic group to please help the Liberia Recitation Association with school material, because we noticed that after the COVID-19 crisis in Liberia, parents are not really affording to send children to school. Even those few of them that are in school doesn't have adequate school material. So today we are come out to call on government and well-meaning Liberians to please help us with school material. That's why we are here.
Are you sponsoring students to various schools?
Yes, we are not directly sponsoring them, but we advocate for them, and other people come to help and sponsor them. So we have our own school that we were collecting children from the community, sending them to school for 2 academic years, but now we dissolved the school because the property owner took it from us. So we transferred these students in another school, and we advocated that they give them 50% tuition free. So currently the school we are talking about, they are all elementary, from kindergarten to elementary.
King Jensen Zelu is the executive director of the Liberia Recitation Association, calling on government, NGOs, and philanthropics to provide students of the group with schooling materials. And away from Liberia, more than 300 schoolgirls have been kidnapped by unidentified gunmen from a school in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state. Security officers have been dispatched to the town of Janjibi, where the girls were seized early on Friday morning. Local officials have confirmed the attack, but have not given details. This is the latest mass abduction targeting schools in recent weeks. Gangs often seize school children for ransom. At least 42 people, including 27 students who were kidnapped last week in Kangara in neighboring Niger State, are yet to be released. On that note, that's how we end this edition of LNTV News Live here on LNTV. Before we leave, let's recap the major stories we follow on this edition of the program. The Ministry of Health to shortly begin rolling out series of vaccines, including the AstraZeneca vaccine for COVID-19. Swedish ambassador to Liberia describes coordination in the land sector as essential tool for avoiding function duplication. A high-level meeting to address the constant breakdown of the Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation pipelines to take place in Monrovia soon. And of the home front, unidentified gunmen kidnapped more than 300 schoolgirls in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara State. Join us on Monday morning when we'll be back here with another edition of the program. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Liberia National Television, my name is Jab Davis, wishing you the best from Painesville. Bye-bye and have a blessed weekend.